agreeing to speak with us this morning. I'm extremely excited to introduce you to our listening public and also our viewing public across our mediums. I know that you have a great story to tell, or perhaps even more than one, so we are ready to eat it up. Let's start a little bit this morning on the lighter side. So why don't you tell us who is Sharmaine Francois, and tell us a little bit about your journey, where you are now, where you have aspired to in life as well as in your career.
Okay. So yes, so I am Sharmaine. I am currently the CEO of the National Commercial Bank of Anguilla. I relocated to Anguilla about a year ago. It's actually just turned 12 months in that new role. But first, let me just rewind a bit to give you who's Sharmaine. Sharmaine is the mother of two. I have a teenage daughter at age 14, and my son is 7. So I'm having a lot of fun. As a professional with young kids, it's not an easy role. It's not an easy task, but I try to strike a good balance in terms of career and also raising my kids. So just to give some background how I started my career and how I ended up in banking, I started as a teacher at the Payroll Combined School, that's back home in St Lucia. And so I was a grade 6 teacher, specialized a lot in the maths area. I spent 2 years and then moved out of teaching. I enjoyed it, but I felt my passion was, to do something else. So I tried banking. Started with the local bank in St Lucia. It was then called National Commercial Bank of St Lucia, now Bank of St Lucia. I started in 94, then went out to study, came back in 99, and stayed a few more years until 2005 when I moved on to, another challenge. For me, it's always about a new challenge, yeah? But I must stick to the time at NCBA. That time really really molded me into the professional that I am today. So I spent for the first 2 years of that tenure at the bank as a management trainee, going through every aspect of banking. And so you get a really good appreciation, and I developed a love for the area. And so the rest is, so when I moved on in 2005, I went into investment banking. So I spent a lot of years in investment banking, a role that I really enjoyed, working with the small investor, the big investor, the government, large corporations, and seeing, financial solutions, work out. So it's been good. I've moved a lot. I've not been one place. So along the journey, I spent 5 years in Montserrat prior to coming to Anguilla. And Montserrat was wonderful. I had a great team. It was a very small island, no traffic. So it helped me raise my children in a really nice, I don't know if you remember in the old days when you grew up there, everything was neighborly. You had the whole community that's raising your kids. So there's a lot of love. There's a lot of community, spirit. And Montserrat, there's no crime. You didn't have to look at, no looking, behind. And so that helped me in terms of that peace, that calm. So now I'm in Anguilla. It's a lot similar, very slow pace. A good place to raise kids. And for me, my current decision, my first priority has always been, to take into consideration my children. How will they fit in? And how, I'm always secondary. And if it's not going to work out, I hold back. So that's a little bit about me. As we talk, more will come out.
Absolutely, Sharmaine, and what a fantastic journey. I mean, I'm looking at you and I'm listening to where you've been and the number of years you've spent, and I'm going crazy trying to calculate how many years is that, because you only look like a teenager yourself, right? So kudos to you. I mean, it kind of says that you can work really hard and reap the benefits and still look really good. So let me jump to the next question then. How do you manage? I mean, I hear you speaking and it sounds like a lot. It's a career, it's a full-time mom, and clearly you don't sit still for a minute. So tell me a little bit about your guiding principles and your success traits. How do you manage all of it?
Yes, so striking that balance is tough. But for me, I have a lot of structure in my life. My children, they are on a lot of structures, their schedules. I cannot work outside of that in order to make sure that I meet all what's coming at me. So, for instance, with my kids from day one, I put them on the schedules. They have, a lot of structure. And I try to ensure that one of the first things that I make a promise to them, that mommy will not miss out on any of your activities. I make sure I do the school runs, I take time for that. So when they sleep in, I take the opportunity to catch up on work. So I sleep very little during the week, but I catch up on weekends. But the important thing is, for me, when I go into an organization, is to develop my people. That's always my priority. How do I get my people to the level that I need them, to be able to function?
Right.
So developing people is always, paramount for me. And so once you have a good team, that can help create the balance that you need, because you don't really have to be there for everything. You can delegate, you can, so that helps in striking a good balance for me.
Excellent. I mean, as a leader, when I worked in core banking, it was difficult to manage everyday existence and also manage the responsibilities. And like you, I think that you need to empower people so that they understand that they are trusted, and more important, trusted by you, so that they can also discharge their responsibilities. And yet I find a number of leaders are challenged with that. So what are some of the steps that you take specifically to ensure that you can trust your team and know that, they will do what it is that is expected of them without the micromanagement that we hear so many people complaining about?
Yeah, for me, the first thing is set clear priorities. Yeah, set clear goals. So even when I come into an organization, or it's the beginning of a new financial period, like for instance, just Saturday past, we had a staff retreat. Start to plan for the next 12 months.
Right.
So you lay out, as a team, we come together and we lay out, what are the key strategic priorities for the institution. And so once you have clear goals and it's defined, and then you have input from your team, the buy is critical. So once you have input from the team, it's part of that process. And you allow them to, even though you have the ideas, you may know it all, but you let them come up with the ideas.
Right.
So they feel empowered. They feel that they contribute and the ideas are coming from them. And then we build from there. I work a lot. I'm very results oriented. So I thank my experience at Caribbean Money Market Brokers for that. The environment that I build when I go into any workplace is to set clear targets. Once we set our strategic goals, we drill down in terms of the targets, that how each person within the team contribute towards achieving that, those overall organizational goals. So once everybody have the individual scorecards, we call it, then it's clear what your contribution is. And so we do that at the beginning of every financial period, and there's monitoring, there's coaching, regular coaching and development. I also believe in ensuring that each employee has a professional development plan in place to ensure that there's a correct path, there's growth as you progress through the organization. So it's very, it's a lot of step by step. So, and for me, I love people. Embracing humanity is what I live by. I feel a fun environment. I mean, my team will tell you she party hard and she work hard. So I believe in that balance. I believe in balance. So every quarter we try to do some kind of team event, because knowing your team outside of that, those, in that structured way.
The walls,
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Sharmaine. Tell us about your experience in the industry as a female. And do you believe that your experience would be any different from your male counterparts? And do you have any specific examples or is there any term of reference that comes to mind that reminds you that there is a difference, if you believe that there is one?
Yeah, to some extent. I've not had too many experiences, but I can speak to one. People always say that I look younger than my age.
Right.
So in my early years as a young professional, I used to wear those big jackets, and to make me look older. some particular hairstyles to make me
Yes.
look older. And so I remember one incident. I was mid-30s. An interview I went to, and it was predominantly males interviewing, and my opponents were really males also. So I was the only
Right.
female competing for that role. But you got a clear sense from the questions whether you're questioning whether you'll be able to, do the job.
Right.
And again, some of the questions were the organization in terms of the leadership is predominantly men. How will you manage in an environment like that? And so, I mean, at the end of the day, I got the job, but it was, as a woman, as women, we have to do a lot more. We have to
Okay.
put out a lot more. There's a lot more planning that's needed. Yeah. And so for me, it's about making sure that I'm prepared. So preparation, everything, it has to be spot on. And so you would have to do the extra, the research. I put a lot into anything that I do, So it exists, but it's not, for me, I cannot say that has held me back.
Right.
But I know it exists.
Kudos to you. And I think that having the right mindset, understanding that the environment that you're in calls for you to put out a little bit more than perhaps your male counterparts, like you rightly said, but that cannot become a deterrent. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Sharmaine, as a female leader, what area are you most proud about in your career? And conversely, what has been your biggest obstacle to attaining the status that you were looking for?
Okay. So in my career, what I'm most proud of is my diverse experience in banking. I have covered every single aspect of banking. And which is, I would say, to some extent rare. You have a lot of you meet, because I meet bankers, you interview, you hire people, and for me, I thank the experience both at the local bank, at NCBA, and also CMB, the years of experience in both retail, corporate, enterprise risk management, just from every aspect of banking to the investment banking aspect. So for me, that's how, in terms of the true success for me. In terms of the major barrier, the major barrier, I would say, if I can think of one, I would say for me, it's really the balance. Balancing, let me move on to the balance. The major barrier for me is building successful teams. Am I saying it right? If I go back to maybe not giving specific examples, but a lot in terms of our part, a lot of employees or teams, you go into a team and most persons are not, they may not be as results oriented.
Right.
Yeah. And moving, trying to move your team from that mindset to a mindset of change, a mindset of results is a huge barrier to success for me. So it's something that it entails a lot. You have to put in a lot more work. And especially for me as a leader, I believe, leadership is getting your work done through your people, yeah,
Right.
and building people along the way, yeah. And so that can pose a significant challenge according to the environment that you operating in. Something clear enough, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's clear that when you go in, you will find different levels of performance orientation and you will find different mindsets. So,
Yeah.
question for you, do you believe that we still operate in a male-dominant environment? And if the answer to that is yes, what advice would you share with young women coming into this industry to ensure that they too are elevated to success?
I think that it's changing. When you look at a lot of organizations, even for my organization, I would love a few more men on my team, on my management team. I currently have a team of 10 and 8 women.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
women are taking up a lot of these senior roles. And even when you look around in different organizations, you see that the dynamics are changing. What I will say to women is not to shy away from those positions. They're not male, they're not positions set for, for the masculine, man. We can take up the roles and we can do the jobs. Yeah. Even for me coming into I'm the first female CEO for this entity. There's always been a male CEO.
Right.
So as the first female CEO, I have to basically, the expectation is that you have to, your leadership style should be more masculine. Yeah. And so I have to kind of break that barrier, and because women bring that nurturing, that is a difficult. Remember, that's what we program to be a nurturer. So
correct.
So it's a different type of leadership. It's a balance. You have to be, you have to also be a strong leader. It's one of the 3 things that I live by. I tell a person that you have to have the head in terms of the know-how. You must have the heart, in terms of managing people and time, to manage people,
right.
and also to have, and equally have guts to be able to take the tough decisions. Yeah. So those 3 things that I need. As I said, head, heart, and gut.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in managing people.
Absolutely. So Sharmaine, you make a very, very interesting point as you spoke. You said that you are expected to change your leadership style to be more reflective of a male. And then you went on to speak to the fact that women are naturally born nurturers. Do you think that really to be a good leader, you need to match your leadership style to that of your male counterparts? Or do you think that in the workplace, women leaders perhaps are stepping up because of the balance that they can strike in taking the tough decisions, which we do in the home, and bringing that into the workforce?
Definitely. Yeah. I think I don't want to be, have no male leader upset with me, but I think female leaders are great leaders,
Yeah.
we are mothers in the home, we are, because it's a balance. For some of us, we are the breadwinners, we are the,
Right.
the nurturers, we carry several roles.
Right.
So coming into an organization, it's easier for us to be, that listener that our staff, somebody that is approachable, that can sit down, hear the issues. Even for
Right.
instance, within my team, there are mothers like me, and to understand the dynamics of what they go through,
Right.
and to work around those dynamics.
Yes.
We have a better appreciation for those things. So even since I've been on board, I have introduced a flexi type of work environment where I allow my managers to work from home, based on what is happening.
Right.
And so you understand that dynamics, you can work along with, with especially understanding how family impacts work.
Right.
And so for me, I think that's what the female leaders bring into the workplace, yeah? That good balance that is required, yeah?
Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you. All right, so we spoke a little bit about balance and how you manage your work life. You spoke to the fact that you're a very scheduled individual, but you just touched on something that I want to pause on for a bit. And you spoke a little bit about flexi hours, and you spoke about working from home, and it didn't sound like it was anything new to you. So in the world of COVID, I know that all of us would have been challenged in adapting to, I don't like to say the new normal, because whatever the circumstance that you're facing becomes your new reality. But did COVID teach you anything more about Sharmaine, the individual as well as the leader? What did you learn?
Yes, so the sad part for me, I never got a day off. Anguilla has been COVID-free from March.
Yes,
So
yes.
we've been open. We never closed. The borders have closed,
Excellent.
but
Right.
as an institution, we never closed. So there were two cases in the early March that went
Right.
away, quite quickly, and we've not
Mm-hmm.
had any cases since. So we operate quite normal.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Fantastic.
But notwithstanding, the hotel industry has shut down, and because of that, because tourism is the mainstay of the
Mm-hmm.
economy,
Mm-hmm.
that definitely impacting business,
Right.
and unemployment has increased. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
very little economic activity as a result. The
Right.
GDP numbers are showing a contraction. That is
Mm-hmm.
also affecting the business. So as an institution, you have to change your change your whole focus.
Right.
And for me, I had to use a lot more empathy. So the whole
Mm-hmm.
power of empathy, to really understand the dynamics of your customers, understand the dynamics of your staff. Just what they're feeling, and how can you assist.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of pull away from the rigid, fast pace,
Yes,
and try
yes.
and understand, and kind of just, relax a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not in terms of understanding what my staff and my customers are going through.
Right.
So that is some of the change for me. A lot more empathy during this time, a lot more open communication, a lot more dialogue with both customers and staff.
Right.
So we've spent a lot of time just communicating. I've spent more time on radio and meetings than I've done pre-COVID.
Yes, yes, yes.
Just ensuring that you know, managing relationship, managing
Mm-hmm.
expectation, managing how people feel. So that that's some of the new dynamics.
Okay. All right. So great. I mean, congratulations to Anguilla. Obviously, a job really well done, and you as well being able to recognize the need for change. And in this instance, and this is a great opportunity to talk a little bit about the mindset set shift from the office to personal. So let's do that. Let's do a little bit of a pivot here. Sharmaine,
Mhm.
on the fun side, on the lighter side, tell me, where will I find you on a Saturday morning?
In bed, sleeping, catching up on sleep.
Wonderful.
I
Mhm.
At 10 a.m. on a Saturday, I am still in bed. I am
Oh,
telling you,
wow.
because my Mondays to Thursdays are
Right,
taxing.
right,
Yeah, I do from 3 to 4, possibly 5 hours of like very little sleep. Yeah.
right. Hmm.
So I try to catch up on Saturday. I sleep in late, so I try not to do any kids programs on a Saturday morning. So I have to
Okay,
dropping off
right,
on a
right.
Saturday morning. Um, so, and then the rest of the day, I mean, I spend, like, my weekends are really family weekends. So I do a
Hmm.
lot more. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of lovely beaches. So we do the beach, we do just spend time with the kids. That's all I do on weekends. Yeah, so
Fantastic.
I try to do a lot of my housework and anything that Friday night is my night where I wrap up things. So I relax into Saturday and Sunday.
That,
So a
that
lot
sounds
of
like an absolute dream come true. And certainly it speaks a lot to the
yeah,
fact that you need to recharge, right? A lot of us
yeah.
don't know how to unplug on a weekend. So tell me a little bit about that. Is there a philosophy for you? Because you sound very passionate about it, right? Is there a
Mhm.
philosophy for you that speaks to the fact that you do actually need to recognize that you're a mom, a career person, but you're also a person? And so,
A
your
person.
ability to be optimal speaks to the fact that you need to unplug.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I went through a rough realization. I didn't just come to that realization.
Right.
So I had some health,
Okay.
sudden health issues that forced me into that mode a couple of years
Okay.
ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm fine now, but I just thought that I just had this, I was some energizing money just went on and
Right.
on and
Yes.
weekends, and so I had to take stock, and try to create that balance. And so what I do now, even within the company, NCBA, my staff, my management team in particular, I preach the whole balance, and weekends are for family. So I try my best not to ensure that the staff they free on a weekend. So whatever the bills, we will leave it to Monday. So we structure our targets and accomplishment outside of weekends. So we have I create that environment where if it takes you into the weekend, let's have a conversation. I need you to spend time with your kids.
Right.
So if working late, I've ensured that all my managers, they have remote access to work from home. So I need everybody out of the bank by a particular time.
Right.
Because
Right.
I have young children. So I mean, for me, it's important that there's balance, as an individual. And for me, family has to be priority. And so I not just for me, I ensure that my
Excellent.
team, and so it creates a more wholesome environment.
Right.
Yeah. So that's just it's for me. It's important. I need to leave to see my grandchildren.
Yes, yes. Don't we all? Definitely. Yes. Fantastic. Well, just by the looks of it, on the surface of it, you're heading in the right direction, Sharmaine. So keep it up, and I hope that whatever that little health scare was, that it's way behind you now and not going to resurface at any point. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. So let's thank you for that little break there. Let's go back into a little bit more heavy stuff again. From your perspective, what do you think, or do you think that the industry has evolved over the years regarding female professionals? I know we mentioned it earlier, and we alluded to the fact that, in your team, for example, your complement is like your management team is 80% female, which is astounding, and kudos to you for getting to that stage. But do you think that the rest of the industry more broadly has accepted females as peers, that we can actually walk alongside each other? And there's less of a female who's taking dictation as we would have known it to be certainly when you and I started in '94.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has evolved a lot. In the 90s, no, I don't. Things have changed.
Yeah.
In the 90s, when I look back at all my CEOs and most of my senior managers, they were all males. Yeah. There's just a handful, a very small percentage of women leaders.
Right.
But that has, when you look at, I think, you still have, I think it still exists more so in our part of the world. But I think it's slowly changing. It's changing because women, I think we are, I see myself as an equal. I challenge any male leader. I see myself as an equal in the industry.
Right.
Yeah? So one advice I would tell, do not feel intimidated. I don't. The important thing is to be prepared, to know, and once you're prepared, and you strong as an individual, yeah. I think, I don't. For me, it's not an issue. It's not something that But I do understand that, we still have ways to go. But I would just want to encourage my female leaders that are, females that are, progressing to keep pushing.
To keep pushing, absolutely.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
Fantastic. How do you encourage or empower your team holistically for success?
Okay. For me, empowering my team is to ensure that they have the tools. Yeah. They have the tools to succeed. Yeah. And so for me, I use empowerment as a critical tool to ensure that they can make decisions, even from no matter what level. So there's very little micromanagement of the process. So one of the first things that I do when I enter the institution, and even the discussion now in terms of how do we train our people to be able to, to make decisions. Again, with, parameters, but so that they don't have to refer everything.
Right.
Yeah. So empowerment is one, ensuring that they have the tools, ensuring that they have clear targets, clear goals, yeah, to succeed. These are the three the three main, and then even and investing in your people.
Right.
I believe that investing in your people, ensuring that they equipped in terms of know-how to carry out their roles. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I mean, Sharmaine, you said that you taught many, many years ago. And clearly, as I speak to you, I hear it coming out because earlier you mentioned coaching and you spoke to mentoring. You also spoke to the personal development plans, which I know some people don't necessarily put a lot of reliance on it. It's a tick box exercise, if you will, where, you know, we start the year and I complete this and hand it into you. How do you breathe life? How do you ensure that those documents remain relevant and valid along one's development plan? Or do you?
Yes, it's a working document.
Yes,
So,
yes.
for instance, what we do is, as part of the tracking, it has to be tracked. There must be dollars attached to it in terms of a budget attached to it to ensure it
Right.
happens, where there's, you know, dollars attached. And then, and what we do is the tracking and monitoring is the most important thing. So if it's going to be at the beginning of the year, it's going to a nice fancy document and shelf away, no. We have, it has to be a working document equally shared with the employee, and the ownership on the employee. They have to own it. And we provide whatever support that is required to ensure it's achieved. Even for, I mean, one of the exercise that we're going through now, because of my first year, I had to spend, you know, just to really understand my team, friends, you know, where, you know, in terms of how do we create that succession plan to develop future leaders. Because I'm not going to be in Anguilla for, you know, just for a few years. So I will move on. How do I build the people within my team so we don't have to go out and hire from outside? We can identify within the team, how do we groom one, two of our persons within the team to take up more senior roles? And so in creating those, the PDPs, the professional development plan, we actually work. So there's both, you know, quantitative and there are qualitative aspects to that plan. So where the person may have to take on additional training courses, maybe cross-training in other areas, but it's a working document that, that it's not a tick box for me.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so little tips there, guys. If it is not already implemented, it's certainly something that we should be looking to implement within all organizations, if you ask me, across all levels. So Sharmaine, you know, I listen to you and I'm very inspired by what I can hear, which is a very driven individual who's really come into her own. So, you know, kudos to you. Tell me who inspires that flame in you, that fire in the belly, that hunger for success. Who is your inspiration and why is this the person who would come to mind first and foremost?
First and foremost, my mother.
Nice.
I mean, she's a go-getter. She never sits, failure is not an option. So one thing doesn't work out, she tries something else. And I grew up in a home, a single parent, 5 children, and all had to work along with her to make the money to pay the rent, to make the money to pay the lights, to do everything. She was a seamstress, so I can sew very well. So I had to sit with her late nights and put the buttons and you know, hem the skirts of the school uniforms that she sewed for, you know, for people in the community. And she tried everything from starting as a seamstress to opening up her sewing school. Then when she needed more money, because we all going to secondary school and who wants to go to university, so she's now open a restaurant and she opened, I mean, she's an entrepreneur. You know, so for me, that's very inspirational. I mean, she never sat down a day. I mean, now she's, you know, she's in her 60s, so she, you know, she has slowed down a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, I was raised, failure is not an option.
Excellent.
You have to keep pushing.
Okay, so what is your mom's name? Your mom's name, what is her name?
Oh, Cassia Roseman.
Cassia. So I know Cassia is going to be tuned in and listening or looking on. So hi, Cassia. Big thank you for the beautiful lady that you raised who's leading now. Job well done. Sharmaine, back to you. When faced with challenges, and we know that challenges will come either in your professional life or your personal life, or as you mentioned earlier, a combination where your health kicks in, what is your go-to strategy to stay on that road to success and not be daunted by
Yeah,
it?
my go-to would be when I face challenges, I cut down the whatever into smaller bites, you know, so where because I tend to set very huge and, you know, stretch goals. And even right now, the COVID environment has taught me you need to scale down. You need to
Right,
scale down, you know. So set smaller goals, set more manageable goals. So that's my go-to is always how can I, you know, baby bites to, you know,
right,
and approach it on a, you know, on a
right,
smaller
right,
scale. So that's and what even when I have challenges with a team, like I want to get my team to think about, you know, to have that result mindset, to, you know, how, you know, so sometimes I have to say, okay, Sharmaine, you normally achieve that in 6 months, but the team needs more time, you know, to
right.
scale down my expectations.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So that tend to be my go-to to kind of scale down, cut it into smaller bites.
Right. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I always like to say is you learn to dance, right? So, you know, as a music, or you step it back and waltz a little bit,
Yeah.
but at every opportunity you enjoy it, right? And you learn from it. So,
Yeah.
so great. I'm sure that you've been doing a lot of dancing with your team, and I heard you say
Yeah.
earlier that you focus sometimes on your customers as well. And so your dance is, you know, it's team as well as the wider audience. So great, great, great philosophy there. And another little takeaway, guys, that it's not always going to be the same pace and the journey is not always going to be a straight road ahead. And sometimes we just need to slow down and dance a little bit. And then you can pick up even more steam and
Yeah.
make up for the lost time, right? Great stuff.
Yeah. Definitely.
As we approach, and this is actually your last formal question, there may be another one that I'll throw at you. What advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders?
Okay. Advice. Keep pushing, as I said before. Set
Mhm.
yourself clear goals. Um, and set some stretch goals. I remember setting when I would love to mention my mentor, one of my very first mentors, that really, you know, that's Mario Central, yeah, my old CEO,
Ah,
at the NCBA and NCBA. And I
mhm.
remember when and from my initial conversation with him, I said, I want to aspire to be a lot like him, you know, to lead. And I remember when with him, I said, I want to aspire to be a lot like him. I've always look for good mentors. They help you. And I just asked him, I said, can you be a lot like him? You know, so they help you. And for me, and then along the way, I met a few more mentors, two leaders, how they, you know, their leadership style. And there's a lot to learn along the way as young leaders. I learned a lot. I remember Esther Brown, very good female leader. So you look for female leaders around you and, you know, kind of, you know, look at the qualities and see what are some of those qualities that you can take on. So they quite a few people that have really inspired me. So as leaders, look for people that will inspire you, people that are willing to coach you, to mentor you. Have set yourself clear goals, clear, have a plan as to how you're going to achieve it, what needs to be, what has to be your input. So some of it
Mhm.
might be furthering your education. Some of it might posing yourself in other areas. I remember branching out of banking for about a year. I went into the local power company, Lucille, just to get a different, you know, experience. I actually did
Mhm.
um, some work in the renewable energy field
Ah,
with Lucilec for a period of 12 months. But then in
okay.
that 12 months, I missed banking so badly. So many things were happening in the industry, and I'm like, Lord enough, and I need to get out of here. And I remember my MD, Mr. Luigi, trying to convince me
Yes,
to stay in the industry.
right.
And I told him, Trevor, I mean, I'm cut out for banking, you know. And that was after the financial crisis, because that was 2012. Still we going through that period of change,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's just so much happening. I'm like, I'm missing out. I need to get back in the action. And so I quickly, took on another role. That's when I moved to Montserrat. I took on the role in Montserrat to get back into the thing.
Yes.
So it's so, I mean, you just take the opportunities, and all those opportunities help mold you.
Right.
And it adds a lot of value. Even when sometimes I get proposals, and I can speak on several things. So you're not limited. Do not limit yourself. Even I tell my young tellers, you come into the bank as a teller, open your eyes and start to see what else can I learn. Go into other departments, get the cross training. And so that's how we grow as leaders. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. I really love that. And, you know, for those of you out there who have not yet made the connection, Sharmaine is not actually from Anguilla or Montserrat. So, Sharmaine, where are you from originally?
St Lucia.
The beautiful island, the beautiful island of St Lucia. So
Yeah.
maybe this will be my last question, because as I've moved through banking myself, I saw a lot of young females opting to explore islands outside of home country, home base, and really making their mark. But I imagine that comes with a level of trepidation, like, can I do it or am I ready? If you don't mind sharing, what was your first out of St. Lucia experience like for you? Were you ready?
I was ready to an extent because of the position I held a couple of years before when I worked with CMA, I had a regional position. So I
Okay,
worked in Trinidad for a bit, in St. Vincent. So I was accustomed of moving.
right,
But notwithstanding, for me, the biggest challenge when I relocated, because that's
right,
different from going for 6 months or
absolutely.
for years. When I completely relocated, going to Montserrat, I relocated with my son at a year and a half. A young baby.
Yeah,
And my daughter at 8, and I'm a single parent, and I'm like, Lord, how am I going to do that?
yes, yes.
And I'm the second in command of a bank. How am I going to do that? So there was this, anxiety and kind of, wondering whether you're making the right decision, whether it will work out. But what is fundamental for me is failure. I live by the failure is not an option. So I get it, and it has to work.
Right,
So do what you need to do to understand the dynamics of the environment, the culture, and you fit in, and you make it work. And so,
right.
I mean, even living in Montserrat, they did not have the luxury of the malls and the nice supermarkets, and
Yes, yes.
you had to go to these little, but you make it work. And so I don't fuss too much about nothing. I am a very humble person, and that's one of the advice I would leave: remain humble. Positions is really just a position. At
Yes,
the core,
yes.
you have to remain,
Who you are.
yourself.
Yes.
So humility is important. So fitting into any environment for me is easy because I relate to people. I put myself in people's shoes. And once you have a passion to help, I have a love for people. And I say that's my calling. I love banking. I love to see transforming lives. So it's for me it's easier now.
Yes.
I did have my yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, Sharmaine, I thoroughly enjoyed our little chat this morning, and I certainly hope and I believe that our audience will as well. My final question, there have been a couple of these, but I promise this is the final one. The next step for CAB is going to be even more exciting if it's possible to top this Lady Leadership series. And I'm going to challenge you to just say yes.
Yes.
Yes, awesome.
Yes.
Now that
Yes.
is what a leader does, right? You don't know what you're stepping into,
I
but
don't
you're
know what it
stepping
is,
with
but
belief.
I'm game.
I love that, but I will give you a hint. I'll give you a hint because I heard you say mentor, and I heard you say mentorship, and I heard you say transformational, and all of it is connected to the next big initiative that the CAB is going to launch in 2021. So stay tuned, stay positive, stay focused, and just keep being you because you're doing amazing things out there. Sharmaine, thank you so much. We are honored to have had you on today, and we look forward to our next engagement with you.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy, and thank you, listeners. And I look forward to, doing more of this. Yeah?
Excellent,
Thank you.
excellent. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you, Wendy.
Bye-bye now.